At it again, and Joe Rogan has been on a roll lately with some wonderful conversations with folks, and we have another one. Let's dive in.
Well, when Jordan Peterson first started talking about compelled speech and compelled use of pronouns, I remember people thinking, like, why do you care about this? This is like such a small issue with a marginalized group of people. Like, let them have their identity and use the pronouns they want. And you know, this is like, what was it, 2015, 2016? And I remember his warning, and I remember many other people like, this is going to spill over. Like this, if you can enforce this on a professor, and if you can enforce compelled speech, because Canada doesn't have the same free speech laws we do in America. Yeah. And if you can, like, where does it go? How are you compelling it? Well, it means through violence or through police or through the fear of being arrested, the fear of having your job taken away from you. Like, this is literally what happens when you use laws to compel people. Like, you have to have some sort of a punishment if they don't follow through, if they don't follow your orders. And this is what he was worrying about. And I remember at the time being like, I hope he's wrong. Like, I hope it doesn't get that big. But now here we are, 7 years later.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Knee deep
because there's also a difference between...
Knee deep in it. They demonized Jordan Peterson for that whole situation. For coming out and speaking out against it. They demonized that man. And, well, you're just a phobe, you're an ist, and you're just a hateful person. And the whole time he was telling the truth. That's just a conspiracy. Time and time again. And one of you said it first. Forgive me, I don't remember which one of you typed it in the comment section, but the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 6 to 7 months. Now, at least, you know, the left calls everything a conspiracy. Oh, that's a lie. Oh, they're not teaching CRT to kids in class. No, you guys are lying. 6 to 7 months later. How often has that been happening more recently? One too many times, I'll tell you that, right? Including a situation that I can't really say right now because, I don't want YouTube to suspend me for anything, right? 6 to 7 months. Conspiracy theory and the truth.
Telling people they can't say something, which is what free speech suppression usually is, and that's bad enough, but then telling people that they have to say something.
Yes.
Compelling them to actually say something, putting words in their mouth and telling them you have to say this. And it's not pronouns. It's not a small thing because when you use the she for a he, you're not only being forced to say something, but you're being forced to affirm and acquiesce to a claim that you don't agree with. You're being forced to express a belief that's not yours. I mean, it's like, it's not much different from, a dictatorship forcing someone to profess belief in a religion. It's forced conversion, basically, is what it is. And once you allow that, it doesn't matter. Of course, it's going to start somewhere small. It's just pronouns. It always starts that way. But like I said, it's also
it's the same thing with the Second Amendment. It's going to start small, then move more and more and more invasive. Right? Starts with the AR-15, the big, nasty, demonized weapon. Oh, well, now it becomes easier to ban the handgun because the handgun is the one that actually does most of the damage when it comes to firearms. Oh, remember the big AR-15? Well, we banned that. Well, the handgun does more damage than the AR-15, so we got to ban that now, too. Oh. Shout out to Coleon Noir. He pointed that out, and I was like, wow. I never really thought about that. But it makes total sense. Total sense. Like, why demonize an AR? That doesn't even hurt most people. It's a handgun.
It's actually not small. Pronouns there's a reason why the left makes a big deal out of it. So anytime people on the right say, well, it's not a big deal, in response to the left making a big deal about something, well, they wouldn't be making a big deal about it if it wasn't a big deal. And the fact that they're choosing this hill to defend should tell you that there's something here worth fighting over. So we have enough of a problem getting someone who identifies as a woman to tell us what a woman is. But
Right. What's a they?
yeah, what do you like? Describe to me the feelings of being a they. Describe, can you describe that? What is that experience like? And anytime you ask someone to do that, it immediately descends into incoherence. And also, by the way, the actual gender neutral pronoun for an individual is it. It's not they. So it's interesting that nobody wants to be an it because it's
That's
dehumanizing,
offensive.
right?
Yeah.
They want to be a they. But yeah, if you're calling yourself non-binary, you have dehumanized yourself because human beings exist in a sex binary, male and female. If you're rejecting that, you are rejecting your human identity, and so you've already dehumanized yourself. You are actually it. If it's true that you are not a male or female, then you are an it. We don't know what else to call you.
And then maybe more importantly, one of the things that you're doing when you're doing that is you're giving people, especially if you do it to young people, you're giving them an opportunity to be special and to get special treatment without any special act. They haven't done anything that warrants that unique behavior.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I think that's actually so much of this that and people don't notice it, but a lot of this is just standard narcissism.
Yes.
Especially you listen to these, why is this so common among celebrities now? All the celebrities have trans kids and they're coming out as non-binary and whatever else. And then you listen to them like Demi Lovato or whoever, and you listen to them explain why they're they them. It's always, well, I don't identify with these labels. I'm beyond that. I'm above that. It's like these labels were good enough for billions of humans before you, but it's not good enough for you. You can't find yourself there. But all these other billions of human beings, it was fine. They had no problem. But you're so special that we need to change the rules of the English language for you specifically. It's incredibly egotistical.
Yeah, I kind of would love to sit down with someone and have this in-depth conversation that participates in the they, them, it, whatever. You know what I mean? Now, unfortunately, I feel like that conversation is going to be hard to come by. Just from what we've seen in videos, I feel like it turns into anger and yelling and screaming, and obviously that's not productive for a conversation. But I would really be interested in sitting down with someone and that is truly open to having a conversation, not someone who is fake, into having the conversation. And when I ask like a tough question or I push back against, something that they say, then it turns into anger and yelling and screaming. Like, I genuinely want to have a full-blown conversation, break it all down. You know what I mean? I feel like that would take a while to find somebody though, but I might start doing that though. Start looking.
Bizarre. It's like if you feel that you're different than everyone else, you're still a female. You're just a different human being who happens to be a female. If you're so unique, go prove it with your actions. Prove it with your work. Prove it out there in the world. But to demand this very special attention, and that's what we give people. Like, if you give people that thing today, they'll tell. There's groups of people that will tell you, you're amazing, you're incredible, you're beautiful, you're brave. It gives them positive affirmation for making these decisions.
It's also part of what you're describing is personality, right? I mean, so if you're saying, oh, I'm a female, but I don't identify with girly things and I don't like the color pink.
Also, I feel like, just capitulating to someone is kind of damaging, right? Because there's no pushback whatsoever. So there's no, actually, you know what? Let me think about this from a different perspective. You know what I mean? Like, you're not allowed to do that. And this obviously has nothing to do with hate, because of course people are going to try to twist it that way. They always do. Oh, you're phobe and blah, blah, blah. You're an ist, and you know what I mean? It devolves into just the name calling and trying to label someone, and we're never able to have a conversation and just sit down and, like I said, ask questions, which is why I kind of want to sit down with someone and ask questions, because typically in open society, we're not allowed to do that, because if you do, you're called all horrible types of names and things. And obviously I think that's completely ridiculous. It's not a hateful thing. It's like if anything, it's anti-hate because you're giving a person another perspective. Just following along can be really, really damaging, in my humble opinion. If there's no pushback, if there's no, okay, well, here's the good side of it, but here's my perspective that could give you, some different thoughts about what it is that you're actually doing. Compare those two things and let me know what you think instead of, all positive. Yeah, go for it. And, I can't remember the young lady's name, but she was speaking about how she transitioned and everyone around her pushed her to do it. Like nobody stopped her and said, hold on, wait a minute. Think about what it is that you're doing. Think about the negatives that could come from this. Truly sit down and marinate on this. She said everybody was just all for it. Just go for it. And she did it and ended up completely regretting it. So why aren't we having that kind of conversation? I mean, obviously one aspect of that is if you do have that conversation, like I said, people call you hateful, but like I just feel like that's detrimental to society, not at least just having the conversation. Has nothing to do with hate, but that's just my opinion. Y'all let me know how y'all feel.
And whatever. Okay, that's your personality. And it's fine. There are many ways to be a woman. There are many ways to be a man. There's like almost infinite ways of doing it because each man and woman has their own personality, their own perspective of the world, and that's fine. So I think that what I'm expressing is more the kind of traditional idea is much more expansive because it allows you as a man to just, be who you are. You're still a man, but be who you are. The idea now is that if you're a man, but you have interests or ideas that fall outside of the standard norm, now you lose your manhood. You're actually a woman. So they're actually reinforcing the gender binary while trying to destroy it at the same time, which is interesting. But I think most of what they're trying to describe is actually just personality. Yeah. And now we have this situation where, you could have a person who has 5 different genders and 6 sexual orientations, but no personality because their personality has been subsumed by all of these labels. They've categorized and labeled and everything, and it's really strange.
So an interesting conversation there on just how things have changed, and I feel like they've changed really, really quickly. Does anybody else feel that same way? Like, just it seems like overnight, just everything just completely flipped, or changed, whatever you want to say. And it's really, really interesting how fast that happened. It's just absolutely wild. But like I was saying, it's really sad that we really can't typically have that open and honest conversation about, big topics of discussion like that without, somebody just calling you a hateful and yelling and screaming or it devolving into, something that's non-productive. I feel like that's really, really sad because one, I think it would be a very interesting conversation, which is part of the reason why I really want to have that conversation with someone that's open to truly having that conversation, even with tough questions being thrown their way, you know what I mean? And it could be a back and forth. Throw some tough questions my way. Hey, you know what I mean? Whatever. I feel like that would be a really good discussion or could be a really good discussion. It's just society now has like just shunned us all from having that discussion. And, I find myself asking why. Why is it taboo or controversial to have that discussion? Why? And I find myself asking that with a lot of different things, when it comes to the machine or the establishment saying, hey, no, you can't say this. No, you can't question that. No, that person is bad. Just believe us. That person is a horrible person. Now I find myself, looking at certain things like, there's something more sinister behind this because they're all pushing me to not ask questions or pushing society to not ask questions or pushing society to, not say this or not say that, why? Do you guys ask yourselves the same question? Let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, this conversation has nothing to do with hate. Zero. Because and this is another thing that the establishment likes to push. If you have this conversation, you're a hateful person. And it's just like, no. Why would I hate these people? Why would I hate that individual? I'm just asking questions. I disagree on some things, but I disagree with a lot of people on a lot of different things, and I don't hate them all. So that in and of itself doesn't even make any type of sense. But hey, who am I? Y'all let me know what you thought about this one in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.